have with me in the studio Mrs. Oluwatoyin. She will be discussing with us this morning about psychology, safety, and academic performance. Welcome, ma.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma. Well, I'm a little bit confused. Like, what do you mean by psychology of safety in school?
All right, thank you. The psychology of safety in school. Now, the psychology of safety in school has to do with the conditions of educational environment that is free from all manner of psychological, violence, which affects people, their interactions, and everything they have to do within the school environment. Now, this also has to do with their interactions, the way they perceive things around them. It goes a long way to affect their general well-being, because when we talk about safety, we see safety from an angle that is just basically physical, but it is beyond that. When we talk about the psychology of safety, we're talking about everything that affects the mind. As I am here now, if there are gunshots outside, definitely I won't be sitting down here. So in schools, a school is a place for learning. But then when the environment is not safe, when there are violence, when there are, things that affect the emotions or the psychology of the learner, the teacher, or anybody who is in that environment, they don't find it, conducive to be in. And so psychology of safety in teaching or learning environment has to do with an environment that is free from all psychological violence.
Okay, so how does it affect like this development? How does it affect the learner's development?
Thank you. Now, for learners' development, we all know why children are in school, or why learners generally are in school. Every individual is seen to develop better in an environment of safety. Now, when we look at development is in different aspects, it's in different domain. Development has to do with cognitive domain, has to do with affective, as well as the psychomotor now, because I'm talking about schools. Jean Piaget looked at development in 4 different stages, which is between the ages of 2 to 15 thereabout. Now, for development to take place in the school, it has to be safe. If a child of 2 to 4 is in an environment where the physical things, the structures are not safe, definitely there won't be, that interaction that will foster growth. For an instance where a child of 7 is in a school, an environment where he's being bullied, or he doesn't feel he can make effort at learning, development will not take place. And it goes on with, other stages of learners. Learners generally are seen as people who are in a school environment for the purpose of acquiring knowledge. And so while we look at learning in that aspect, we understand that the most active and formative years of an individual's life is actually spent in the school environment. And that means that we are developing, such an individual is developing emotionally, he's developing affectively. That emotion has to do with the cognitive domain, the things that affect your mind, your thinking. Cognitive has to do with the brain, how you reason, how you think, and all. And then the psychomotor has to do with what you use your hands to do. And so when an environment is not safe for a learner, at whatever stage, you discover they are not able to think, they are not able to have that nurturing feeling that will make them want to go out to satisfy their curiosity. And of course, if they don't feel safe to satisfy their curiosity, it hampers on their ability to want to use their hands, their body, to do things to show that they have, acquired the knowledge that the teacher or the instructor is trying to pass across.
Yeah. And I think it's a responsibility of the teachers to make that child understand, because from what you have just said, I feel it happens a lot where you see teachers shouting at the pupil or teachers shouting at the student and trying to tell them how dumb they are instead of putting them through on what to do, and that affects them a lot, just like what you said.
Yes.
But then if we're bringing all this thing up, saying that okay, we know that okay, when you shout at a child, this is how it affects the child. When you bully a child, this is how it affects the child, instead of correcting him with love and all that. So what do you think, or what can you say, or what can you advise schools to do?
Thank you. Now that is important. The truth is, if you go to many schools today, teaching is something that a lot of people have come into just because there's no job out there.
Exactly.
And so you want to know, what is the ratio of trained teachers in the classrooms today? Now, when you know that, you understand that there are lots of people who are in the classroom who have no prerequisite training to bring them into this business of nurturing young minds. And so for schools, I'll advise schools to do two things. One, try as much as possible to get trained and qualified teachers. Why do I say trained and qualified teachers? It's because teaching is a profession. And like every other profession, you go through it. There are courses that you have to undertake in order for you to come out as a qualified and professional teacher. I can't go into, prescribing drugs. I can't see myself being in a hospital and be able to tend some severe cases simply because I've not been trained in that light. And so for anybody to come to just jump into the classroom to be a teacher, they have not been grounded on what to do. If an individual comes into the class not grounded, not understanding what the developmental stages are, and what the implication is for the classroom, there's no way he or she will be able to do things that will bring out the best of a child. So schools should get trained and qualified teachers. And in a situation whereby I understand that some people say, oh, they are not trained teachers, but then they have a passion to teach. Then if you have a passion, justify your passion. Validate your passion by going to learn about education. Go in for a course, a professional course. You can go in for your PGDE, or you can even do some other, courses, short courses that can enable you understand the rudiments of, teaching, so that you can be able to come in, not just teach as it is, but to nurture, because teaching is something that is nurturing. It's nurturing. Now, there's this concept of intelligence. Intelligence can be inherited. Yes. And then intelligence can be acquired. And so we have the nature and nurture controversy. Now, why do I bring this in? A child who has acquired intelligence from the parents, but is put in an environment where it's not being nurtured, gradually, you'll find that that child's intelligence will be affected negatively.
I want to understand, why are you so concerned about this, about the children learning development and all? Why are you so concerned about it?
Thank you for that question again. You see, as individuals, we all have dreams, we have goals, and when children are not in environments that, brings out the best in them, they don't feel happy. A child who is in an environment where he's not able to bring out what is in him, you find that such a child will not be happy. We have children who are depressed. Yes.
Children depressed.
We have children who are depressed. Depression is, a continuous state. It's as a result of a continuous state of sadness. And sometimes we don't want to know why. Children have different ways of learning. My learning style will probably be different from yours. I can learn with music on.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And some other child will just want to be like, no, I want silence all over. So why am I passionate about it? It is because I see that education is key. Without education, there's a limit to what an individual can do.
Exactly.
Some people will say education is scam, schooling is scam. I beg to differ. Yes, I beg to differ. As an individual, I was denied secondary school by my dad.
Wow.
Do you understand?
Wow.
I had to sell sugarcane, plait hair, back then in the barracks in Kaduna to get myself into a post-primary school. Now, I did that, but because there was no support, no encouragement, after I attended the commercial school, back then it was for typewriting, for shorthand, commerce and all. So after that level, I stopped because there was no, encouragement and support. But then, I knew that within me, I had so much to achieve that if I if I left myself at that level, I will not get it. And so that's a drive, that desire to see myself where I belong plagued me and pushed me. And you know what? At the age of 30, I went to write GCE.
Oh my God, what's that? GCE?
GCE, General Certificate of, yes.
Oh my
I
God.
went to write GCE.
At the age of 30?
At the age of 30, I was already married. And so I did that. I had to pick up the debris of my life academically. And so looking at me now, and it's like, oh, this woman is studying for her PhD. Nobody will know where I'm coming from. And so I understand. I had to struggle. When I came back to write, when I was studying to write my GC, there are points I had to cry. I had to pray because I was reading. Now, prior to that time, I had left education. I finished my commercial school education in 89. You understand? 1989. That was when I wrote my GCE RSA examination. So between then and 2000, when I had to go and do this, a lot has gone. My brain had like gone, redundant, or what do you call it? So it took time for me to assimilate. And so that's why I said at a point, then I would like cry, pray, and all. But then I did that. It's a longer story than I'm telling you. But the truth is, the desire to get to where I want to get to pushed me. And so when I see children who, their parents are willing to help them, at least they sponsor them, but the children are not given the right environment by teachers, by schools, it bothers me. Education is key. If at the end of education a child fails, I don't want to use this certificate. Fine, that's his choice. But the fact is he has that certificate. It's it gives you a sense of pride and fulfillment when you have it. So our children can actually, be the best if schools make it safe for them to learn.
Oh, thank you so much, Ma. I feel emotional by your story, but then
I had to fight it myself.
But then let me fight it too. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so much. I'm inspired by what we have discussed, and I hope like a lot of people out there watching us are inspired too. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. And lastly, I'll just say this. How does this affect the situation in the country? We look at the structure, because we're looking, the psychology of safety has to do with the structure, the people, and the materials that are in it. And so there is a need also for schools to enlighten the people in the environment on the need to ensure safety. The environment has to be safe. There should be no place where anything can hide or anybody can hide. And then generally educates the children, the teachers, on the need to be security conscious.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for staying tuned, as we have all had educate the children on the need to be secured. That is what we should take home today.